Move to question number 14th. Why customized pages are parsed using no compile mode? One of the best practices in ASP.NET is that we always published full compiled release DLL mode to production, because with that you don't need to compile the DLL again and again, even though .NET has the facility of called a JIT, just-in-time compilation, by which it can basically compile on fly. But still, definitely I mean to say, every time to compile will definitely bring down the efficiency of your project. So one of the best practices in ASP.NET has always been and will always be is to always release full compiled DLLs in the production environment, or when you want to go live, right? But when it comes to SharePoint, it's a bit different. Especially for customized pages, SharePoint basically compiles the page on fly. Okay, now why it happens, we will see that. So what we'll do is that first we'll try to understand the life cycle of how customized pages are rendered. Now when we talk about customized pages, whenever you customize a site page, the customized version basically gets saved into the content database. Now you can customize a site page either using a SharePoint designer, or you can either do it yourself. One important point to remember over here is that it just saves the customized version into the content database. In other words, it doesn't save the complete page, but it saves the customized version, right? Just to point out here, because we have come up with a new vocabulary called a SharePoint designer. SharePoint designer is nothing but it's a tool basically by which you can design SharePoint pages. So in other way, it's a tool by which you can basically design your page and then save it. And if you have customized something, right, it saves the version into the content database. This all happens at the back end. You don't have to worry about it, right? And we will be talking about SharePoint designer in the coming questions, so don't worry about it. Just to remember at this moment, it's a tool. Now what happens, at the IIS level, when a customized page is requested? So when a customized page is requested, the SharePoint handler first says, okay, it's a customized page, so it gets the content source code from the content database, and it gives it to the SharePoint ASP.NET parser. I will emphasize, it gives it to SharePoint ASP.NET parser and not to the .NET Framework ASP.NET parser. So we can say that SharePoint has an inbuilt custom parser which basically parses the customized pages on fly. So the SharePoint ASP.NET parser parses the page and then gives back the output, right? So this is how overall a customized page is rendered. Now one of the things which .NET or ASP.NET developers must be thinking is that why to again and again compile, or why to again and again you say, why to again and again we need to basically compile the page on fly. Why didn't SharePoint think about compiling the full DLL in a release mode and then displaying it? Okay, the first thing is that SharePoint exists as a different entity and .NET Framework exists as a different entity, and to control the way the DLL will be loaded and unloaded is not in control of SharePoint. Because first thing, when we talk about loading and unloading of .NET DLLs inside the framework itself, it depends on the garbage collector. It doesn't depend on the framework also. So the garbage collector basically runs and it goes and it cleans up the memory, the unused DLLs in memory. Now to control the garbage collector sitting externally as a different entity is very difficult. I mean to say, .NET has not provided the way to do that, and it's not that it has not provided the way to do it, but definitely it is still not a recommended practice, right? Now because of this lack of control over the way the DLLs can be loaded and unloaded into memory, right, what happens is that you cannot really do a good memory management. So once a compiled ASP.NET page is loaded, it gets unloaded only when the app domain gets recycled of the IIS or when the garbage collector runs. Now that is not in control of SharePoint. But in case of non-compiled pages, it can be loaded and unloaded because it completely depends on the SharePoint ASP.NET parser, right? So here he has a lot of control. So that's why SharePoint basically parses customized pages with a no compile mode, because with that you increase memory management, you increase and you have or I'll rather say that SharePoint has a lot of control on the way it can manage its memory regarding DLLs loading and unloading. So the only reason why SharePoint basically uses no compile mode is, first thing, it it cannot control the way .NET Framework works, at least from the loading and unloading point of DLLs, and because of that it cannot do good memory management. And when it comes to no compile mode, because it has its own parser, it can load the DLL into memory, generate the output, and then unload the DLL back. So that's a basic reason why SharePoint basically compiles customized pages on fly.